What if I told you? The worst kind of regret comes from something you didn't do. Not words you said, not anger, not violence, just. My name is Eleanor Whitman. I am 73 years old, and for 31 years, I have woken up every night with the same feeling. I live in Brunswick, Georgia, a small town where mornings come slow and evenings come early. Most houses here are quiet now. Children grow up and leave. Old people stay behind with their memories. On October 14th, 2024, I woke up at 3:12 a.m. No nightmare, no sound, just regret sitting heavy on my chest. I stared at the ceiling and waited for something that wasn't there. A breath, a movement, a sign that I wasn't alone. I haven't been alone for decades, but my body still forgets. I walked into the kitchen and poured coffee into an old mug with a thin crack along the side. It says, "World's Best Wife." The words hurt more now than they ever did before. My husband Michael gave me that mug in 1987. He smiled when I opened it. I remember thinking it was silly. I regret that thought. Michael died in June of 1993. People say it was his heart. They say it was quick. They say there was nothing anyone could do. Those words have followed me my whole life. But I was there that night, and I know something they don't. Before Michael died, he needed me. Not a doctor, not medicine. Me. And I wasn't fully there. I didn't shout. I didn't leave the house. I didn't mean to hurt him. I just turned inward, and regret grows best in quiet places. Michael and I met in Toledo, Ohio in 1976. We were young, we were tired, we were hopeful. He worked at a factory near the river. I worked at a grocery store. We shared one car and one small kitchen table. Life was simple then, and I didn't know how precious simple was. By the late 1980s, the factory began cutting hours. Men stopped talking. Worry entered homes quietly. Michael changed slowly. He spoke less. He looked older. I regret not asking why. By 1992, our house felt smaller. The silence felt longer, and I began feeling unseen. I regret believing that feeling, because when regret starts small, you don't recognize it. You mistake it for loneliness, for boredom, for needing more, and that is how regret sets the trap. It doesn't scream. It whispers, and by the time you hear it clearly, it's already too late. Before regret had a name, there was love, quiet love, ordinary love. Michael and I spent our early years in a small rental house on Oak Street in Toledo, Ohio. The house leaned slightly to the left. The porch light flickered, but it was ours. Michael woke up every morning at 5 a.m., even on his days off. His body never forgot the factory schedule. He made coffee the same way every day. Too strong. I used to tease him about it. I regret that now. On Sundays, we went to the same diner on Main Street. Michael always ordered eggs and toast. Always left the same tip. The waitress knew our names. Those places don't exist anymore. Neither does that version of us. In 1983, Michael taught me how to drive stick shift in an empty school parking lot. I stalled the car again and again. He never raised his voice. He just waited. I didn't understand then how rare that kind of patience was. We tried to have children. For years. Doctor visits, quiet drives home. Michael held my hand every time. I regret how little I talked during those rides. By 1987, Michael was working longer hours at the auto parts plant by the river. The plant started laying people off. Everyone felt it. Men stopped laughing at work. They started bringing worry home instead. Michael never complained. He fixed things around the house. He replaced the porch step. He patched the roof himself. I regret how normal I thought that was. At night, he would sit on the couch beside me and watch TV. Sometimes he reached for my hand. Sometimes I let him. Sometimes I didn't. I told myself I was tired. By the early 1990s, the town felt quieter. Friends moved away for jobs. Stores closed one by one. Michael started sitting in silence more often. I thought he wanted space. I regret not asking. In February 1992, Michael cooked dinner for our anniversary. He lit candles. He waited. I didn't notice right away. That night, he turned toward the wall when we went to bed. I noticed that. I regret noticing it too late. Love didn't leave us suddenly. It slowly waited for attention and stopped asking when it didn't get it. I didn't know then that love can grow tired, and when it does, regret quietly takes its place. I didn't go looking for trouble. That's the truth. Trouble found me on an ordinary day, in an ordinary place. It was March 18th, 1993, a Thursday. I was working at the insurance office on Jefferson Avenue in Toledo. The building smelled like old paper and burned coffee. That's where I met Daniel Brooks. He was there to sign some forms. Nothing special. Just another man in a wrinkled jacket. But he looked at me when he spoke. Really looked. He asked how my day was going. Not politely. Like he cared about the answer. I hadn't felt that in a long time. Daniel said he was divorced. Said he worked in sales. Said he had moved to town for work. Small towns don't get many new faces. That matters more than people admit. A week later, he brought me coffee. Didn't ask if I wanted it, just remembered how I took it. I regret how good that felt. At home, Michael sat quietly at the table. He asked about my day. I said, fine. That word started meaning nothing. In April 1993, Daniel and I had lunch at a small place near the river. He talked about leaving his old life behind. I listened like it was important. No one had looked at me like that in years. I told myself it was harmless. Just talking, just lunch. That's how regret hides. It wears simple clothes. One rainy afternoon, Daniel offered to drive me home. I said yes. The car was warm. The rain was loud. The silence felt full. He didn't touch me. That made it worse. That night, Michael coughed through dinner. He looked tired, I noticed. I regret not staying with that moment. Instead, I thought about how someone else had made me feel seen. By May, I was telling small lies. Nothing big, just easier ones. Working late. Meeting ran long. Office stuff. Michael never questioned me. I regret that the most. On June 2nd, 1993, Michael asked me something while we washed dishes. Are you happy? I said yes too fast. I regret that answer every day. Because the truth was, I didn't know what I was anymore. And when you don't know who you are, you don't see danger coming. It was already standing in the room. The night it happened, I remember the rain first. Not the thunder, not the lightning, just the rain. Falling against the roof, tapping on the windows, like a warning. It was June 14th, 1993, a Monday. I had been at the office late again. Daniel had called me that afternoon, asking if I wanted to go for a walk. I said no. I needed rest, I told myself. I needed Michael. But when I walked through the front door, I realized I didn't need Michael. Not really. He was sitting in the living room, the same spot he always sat. The lamp cast a soft circle of light over his hands folded in his lap. He looked smaller than usual, older, fragile. I froze. Michael, I said softly. He looked at me, and I swear, I saw everything we had shared. The good mornings, the Sunday breakfasts, the quiet Sunday drives through town, the factory smell on his clothes, the small laughter over spilled coffee. All of it, in a single glance. I feel tired, he said. Just that. No complaint. No anger. Just tired. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to say something that would fix it, but I didn't. I just turned toward the kitchen to put down my bag. That small hesitation, that single second, became a lifetime. Later, he tried to stand. I remember the way his hand reached for mine, for me, and I hesitated, not even thinking, not even noticing how heavy the choice was. And then he collapsed. It happened too fast. Doctors later said it was sudden heart failure. They said nothing could have been done. I remember the ambulance, the paramedics rushing, the beeping, the confusion, the neighbors gathering outside. I remember standing at the curb, soaked from the rain, watching them take him away, and feeling nothing but a cold, hollow ache inside me. I regret every second I didn't move faster. Every moment I spent thinking about small distractions instead of holding his hand. Every thought that I could handle just one more day alone. At his funeral on June 18th, the rain returned. It poured as if the sky knew what I had done. People hugged me. They whispered, "I'm so sorry." I nodded. I smiled. But inside, I was screaming. Daniel didn't come. He sent flowers instead. And I realized, even those who make you feel alive can't fix the mistakes that matter most. For years afterward, I would see him in my dreams, not angry, not sad, just waiting for me to notice him, to reach out, to be there. And the truth, the cruelest truth, is that I can't go back. I can't tell him I'm sorry. I can't hold his hand. I can't fix the moment I chose comfort over presence. Regret, I learned that night, is not about the things you do wrong. It's about the things you leave undone, and once it finds you, it doesn't leave. After Michael's funeral, life continued, but it felt like a different world. Not a better one, not a worse one. Just empty. I stayed in the same house on Oak Street in Toledo. For a while, the walls echoed. The rooms remembered him. I remembered him. Every corner held a memory, a joke he told, a cup he left in the sink, a single sock by the couch. Daniel stayed for a few months. At first, he was gentle. He listened when I spoke. He brought flowers. He smiled like I was someone worth noticing. But flowers can't fix regret, and smiles can't replace someone who is gone. By February 1994, Daniel left. He said the guilt was too heavy. He couldn't handle it. I understood, but it didn't help. I was alone again. The quiet returned, heavier than ever. Even the neighbors seemed farther away. Small towns like Toledo change slowly, but they change. People left. The factory shut down entirely in 1995, and I stayed behind, watching my life shrink into rooms and walls. Every night, I replayed the same memory. That night, Michael reaching for my hand, my hesitation, the ambulance, the sound of rain, the weight of my own choices. I began noticing little things I had never thought about. A plate he always used, the smell of coffee in the morning, his empty chair at the kitchen table. I would sit there, pretending it wasn't there, pretending I could fool myself into thinking I was okay. But regret is patient. It doesn't need noise. It waits in quiet places, in small moments, in mornings like this. And when it finds you, it never lets go. By the time I moved to Brunswick, Georgia in 2001, I had already spent years running from myself. I changed my hair. I changed my routines. I tried to make new friends, but it didn't matter. The ghost of that night followed me, even across state lines. I walked the streets of this small town, seeing couples hold hands, families eat dinner together, children laugh in the yards, and I felt invisible. Not just invisible to the world, but to myself. I had been invisible for so long that I forgot how to feel alive. Every anniversary, every birthday, every quiet Sunday, I remembered him. The life we built, the life I lost by not being there when he needed me most. Even now, decades later, I can feel the weight of that night pressing against my chest. It is heavier than anything else. More than taxes, more than work, more than losing friends to time or distance. The weight of regret is heavier than all of it. And every night when the world is quiet and the lights are out, I whisper to him, "I'm sorry, I should have been there." No one answers. And that's the punishment I carry. Silent, constant, unending. Now, after 31 years, I finally speak these words out loud. Not to be forgiven, not to be excused, but because holding them inside has been heavier than any storm, any job loss, any empty street in this quiet town. I am Eleanor Whitman. I was Michael's wife, and I failed him in the only way that matters. It wasn't violence. It wasn't anger. It was absence. I wasn't there. Not when he needed me the most. Not when a hand, a look, a presence could have kept him alive, or at least less afraid. I chose comfort over courage, routine over attention. And for that, I have carried regret every single day since June 14th, 1993. After Daniel left, I tried to move on. I tried to laugh. I tried to work and meet people. I moved to Brunswick, Georgia in 2001, thinking distance could heal what I had broken. It didn't. I walk these streets now, seeing families and couples, seeing children ride bikes and neighbors wave. And every time I am reminded of what I failed to do. I was given love, true love, the kind most people spend a lifetime searching for, and I let it slip quietly through my hands. I think about small moments now. Michael making coffee every morning, lighting candles on our anniversary, patience while I learned to drive a stick shift, the first snow we shoveled together, and I see the choices I made, the lunches with Daniel, the lies I told, the moments I hesitated, and I shiver. Regret isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It is the slow, constant ache that sits beside you. It is remembering a hand you didn't hold, a look you didn't return, a life that ended too soon. I ask myself every night, would he have still loved me if I had stayed? Would things have been different if I had noticed sooner? If I had reached for him instead of turning away? I don't know, and maybe I never will. But I do know this: the cost of absence is heavier than anything else. The cost of regret can follow you across state lines, across decades, across every quiet Sunday morning. So I speak now not to ease my guilt, it will never ease, but to warn anyone listening. Notice the people you love, hold their hand, ask how they are, sit with them, even when it feels ordinary, even when it seems small, because the moments that seem ordinary are the moments that save lives. The moments that stop regret from becoming a lifelong shadow. I have spent 31 years learning this truth. It came too late for Michael. It came too late for me. And that is the story of a choice, and the shadow it casts over a lifetime.